A former minister in this parish, Reverend Alan Lamb, died on Palm Sunday in 2020, 2 years ago. It was during the early weeks of lockdown. Only 2 of us were able to be with his wife Helen at the graveside burial, and I was stuck at home in Shielding. One of my colleagues, Reverend Fiona Ogg, who already knew Alan and Helen well, conducted Alan's funeral. We did remember Alan briefly at Helen's funeral last August, but that day was for Helen and not specifically for Alan. Today we are pleased to remember Alan during our Palm Sunday service this year. On Palm Sunday, Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey. The crowds gathered round and proclaimed Jesus their King, the Lord of Lords, the Messiah. I believe that on Palm Sunday 2 years ago, there was a celebration in heaven as Alan came to join Jesus and all the saints in heaven with him. Not as big a celebration as the one when Jesus returned, but rejoicing as a faithful friend finished his journey here on earth and arrived home to be with his heavenly family. The hymn we just sang, For the Healing of the Nations, was written by a contemporary of Alan's, Fred Kahn, who Alan knew as a fellow minister in the Congregational Church. Fred's hymns touched a chord with Alan, and he mentioned to me several times his connection with Fred across the years. Last August, Alan's dear wife Helen joined him in heaven, but today we are remembering and giving thanks for Alan. Alan Henry Werby Lamb was born in 1930 on Shrove Tuesday, the day before the Christian season of Lent begins, and he died on Palm Sunday, that day of Christian celebration in 2020, aged 90 years. Although Alan was born in Croydon to the south of London, he and his younger sister Evelyn grew up in Greenford, near Wembley, in London. They were evacuated out of London during World War II. Alan left school at 14 and began his working career with the Post Office Savings Bank, where his Auntie Hilda worked. Having been in the Air Training Corps, Alan did his national service in the RAF and stayed on. He went to Asia via the Suez Canal and spent years in the Far East, including Japan and Malaysia. He had an inspiring padre there and felt the call to go into the church as a congregational minister. He studied for his A-levels and then his degree at Western College in Bristol. During that time he met Patricia Rita Ivetts, a cousin of one of Alan's friends. They married in 1958, and before long 2 daughters, Deborah and then Judith, were born. Alan's first church was in Edmonton, North London, followed by Muswell Hill Congregational Church in 1964, also in North London. It was a large, lively church which merged with the local Presbyterian Church to become the United Reformed Church in 1972. He moved on to Bristol in 1973, followed by Sidmouth in Devon, before moving to Scotland with his second wife Helen around 1985. It was on Easter Sunday in 1985 that Alan and Helen first worshipped in the church at Fort Augustus. It happened to be the then parish minister's last day in the parish. In 1990, Alan was appointed the associate minister for the Great Glen parishes of Fort Augustus and Glengarry, and also Kilmoneyvig. In 1991, George Charlton left Fort Augustus and Glengarry, and Moses Donaldson was called. Not long afterwards, Alan became locum at Kilmallie parish until James Monroe was inducted. During Alan's 6 months at Kilmallie, he was pleased to welcome 7 new members into the congregation and enjoyed the hospitality of John and Kathy Fraser. In 1992, Alan was asked to become locum at Arisaig in the Small Isles. He wasn't sure about being so far away, but he and Helen decided to try it for a year, which then became 2 years, and then 3 years. And he finally retired as locum in 2005, 13 years later, at the age of 75. That's an unusually long time for a locum in any one parish. A couple of years later, Alan agreed to be interim moderator at Ardgour and Strontian, which he did for 2 years, and then he was made interim moderator at Acharical and Ardnamurchan for a period. He was made very welcome in both of these charges. Alan also served the presbytery as moderator on 2 occasions, in 1994-95 and in 2003-04. Alan was a well-loved pastor and friend to many. Alan had 3 grandsons, George, James and Eddie, and 2 of those are here with us today. And he never missed a birthday or Christmas. He spoke at George's school about being evacuated during the war, and Eddie also remembers him talking about his evacuation and rationing. James remembers Alan as being a very loving and proud grandfather. Latterly, Alan used to phone his sister, Evelyn, every Sunday evening, and she treasured his last phone call with her just a week before he died. Alan's family thank everyone for taking such good care of him in this wonderful community. One of the last things he said to them was that he'd like to make special mention of senior nurse Mary Boyle and nurse Lindsay Kennan. His family are grateful that Alan had such a full and interesting life and that he enjoyed such good health for most of it. We thank God for Alan and all that he and Helen gave to the church in his 35 years in Lochaber Presbytery. Of that 35 years, Alan was in Arisaig for 13 years as locum and a further 15 years as he and Helen continued to live here during Alan's retirement. Amen.